Thank you. It is April 8th, 9:32 a.m. We will call this meeting of the City of Port Orchard's Economic Development and Tourism Committee to order. Um, let's go ahead and do some introductions. I'll start with myself and then our committee members. My name is John Morrissey. I'm on the City Council at Large position and the chair of the EDT committee. Fred?
I'm Fred Chang. I'm a council member. I am position number 6.
Excellent. Thank you, Heidi.
I'm Heidi Fenton, a council member, and let's see, position number 5. No, does that matter? No.
Thank you, Heidi. Mr. Mayor?
Rob Patonsu, Port Orchard Mayor. No position.
City staff, Nick?
Nick Bond, Community Development Director.
Jim?
Jim Fisk, Principal Planner.
Sean?
Sean Raja, Associate Planner.
Excellent. Thank you. So that's everybody here from the city, and we'd love to hear from our partners joining us today. Why don't we start just up in my corner here? I have Cody is first. Cody, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Cody Clark, the new Executive Director of the South Kitsap Chamber of Commerce.
Then next would be Corinne.
I'm past president of the Port Orchard Bay Street Association. I am kind of expecting at least one other POBSA member, Sarah Butler.
Excellent. Okay. That's probably, I'm going to guess that's her as the attendee, listed as Gary Anderson. She works for Gary, so
Yes.
I'm going to guess that. And then we'll come back and introduce her. And James?
James Davis with the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance.
Excellent. Thank you, James. And Sarah, you're with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, no.
I sound lovely, but I'm here.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here with POPSA. So, well, greetings all, and welcome to, I guess this is technically our second meeting, but the first one I'm chairing from beginning to end. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend with the city to make us better. You've been identified as key stakeholders within the discussion of economic development and tourism. A lot of our tourism is done through our LTAC committee, which is a separate committee, but some of the ideas and things that can come out of this as well. So I think most of the time we're going to be talking about them together. But I also realized that through this process that we as a city council haven't set a charter necessarily for this committee. So we're going to have some additional conversations with the council as a whole on whether that's something we want council to work on or if they want to delegate that to this committee so that we can talk about what we want our work focused on moving forward. But we do know as key stakeholders, you will help us amplify our message, as well as, I think more importantly, we're looking for your inputs as we talk about the things that can help better our city and our mission in advancing commerce. So first of all, let me just say thank you for doing all that and doing what you do in our community. But we also want to thank you for taking time out of what you do to help us be better as well. With that, I'd like to take a minute and we talk about stakeholder discussion. And maybe it would be good to hear from our stakeholders, maybe your top 2 or 3 initiatives around business development, economic development in your organizations to see if there's some alignment that we can kind of focus on and talk through as it relates to how the city can be a good partner. I'm going to go backwards on this one and maybe start with Keita and James. Maybe you can help lead us and talk about some of the key things that Keita's working on from your aspect.
Yeah, certainly. I think we've identified a few different areas of opportunity. One being workforce. Workforce is definitely an important important consideration, figuring out how we train the next generation of workers and also how we retain workers to our county. That seems to be the top issue that most employers are dealing with right now. Additionally, we're looking at housing, which is kind of ancillary, to the workforce situation. One of the key issues that we're also addressing right now is an industrial land survey. So we're trying to figure out what areas in Kitsap County are available for development, as there's not that much available commercial property. So trying to figure out how we can expand on that, identify areas that are underdeveloped, and work to see those get developed and build out at least work with our stakeholders to build out the infrastructure to develop those things. And I think aside from my personal love for small businesses with the Micro Business Accelerator, I think that's our main focus right now.
Excellent. Thank you. How about POBSA?
Well, we sent a detailed letter at the end of March to Sean. I'm not sure who all saw it, but probably more ideas and quite a wish list than what you really were looking for. But I'd say it boils down to pretty much to communications. We felt like there's either not enough communication, or with not so much POBSA, but with businesses, especially downtown, or maybe a lot of businesses have the perception there's not enough communication even when there is, and how can we fix that? And economic development, of course, especially along the lines of permitting, and probably the third area, beautification maintenance, because we've struggled with that, took that load for many years, and there's a lot of facets to that. So that's pretty much our three main areas. POBSA, we're really, I hate to use the word restructuring, I guess reorganizing quite a bit this year. And it's going well, but we're really looking more to the future and how we can work with the city, but what we can do overall in the community. It's I think most of you know this, but there's a very low vacancy rate downtown now, which is a very good thing. There's still turnover, but very few empty buildings, and the ones that are empty are just not usable at this point in time. So we're excited about that, but we would like to work a little closer with the city, or have the city work closer with us. And I know there's a backup of permitting and a heavy workload, and we do recognize that. But we still feel like there's some improvements that can be made.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And how about at the chamber? Cody, I know you're rather new in that position, but I guarantee you hit the ground running.
Yeah, right now the chamber has some key areas that we've been working on and are continuing to work on. Membership is huge, making sure that we are growing our chamber, that we can be the best tool for businesses in our area, being a resource. But then also with that is advocating for small business. We've got so many businesses in our community that are going through stuff. It's taken forever for them to get into their spaces, to get permitting, all of these things. And how can the chamber be a resource for them? How can we advocate for them? How can we champion for them? And then as well is promoting our businesses. We have the opportunity to help really get the word out there about local business and new businesses that are starting. We're trying really hard to make sure that our business community, that our community as a whole knows that the chamber is a resource. And in that, kind of redeveloping a lot of relationships and developing new relationships has been huge as well. Making sure that we can partner with the city, with POBSA, with all of you guys in different areas.
Excellent. Thank you. So lots of things kind of bubbling out there, and we're gonna annotate those and take those with us. I know some of those things even pertain to outside of just economic development and business life. I know we as a council have our retreat this Friday, and so we're going to take some of these items with us. And then we're going to help try and prioritize some of the work that we want to do out of this. And I hope to maybe even get out a survey or something at some point that will help shape that from your memberships as well. Mayor Rob.
I just, on the communication front, I just kind of would like to share with, since I've got a captive audience here, some of the goings-ons, if I could. We've got the spring cleanup coming up on the 27th, and I've been working with Sarah on what the merchants would like to accomplish, and I think it's going to be some general cleanup. Public Works should be down this week, pressure washing sidewalks and all on the businesses. And the goal is they're going to clean at least the posts on the marquee, and the Public Works is going to provide the paint, and then the merchants can paint the posts, at least on the marquee, so the marquee looks a little bit better. Other work groups, the South Kitsap Rotary Club is going to spread beauty bark at Etta Turner Park. And the Morning Rotary Club is going to spread playground play chips around the playground equipment at Givens Park. I'm still looking for, I've reached out to the HOA at McCormick. I'm looking for a group to do some beautification of McCormick Village Park, to spread bark at the entrance and around the parking area. But I've yet to, I don't want to get the materials delivered and just have a pile of bark sitting there. On the festival front, just a dynamic change that everybody needs to be aware of. Kitsap Transit's about to start Sunday service. So now we have buses driving through Harrison Street and coming out in Sydney. So those big festivals like the Saints Car Club, I know that they've worked with transit. They're in the their application had a challenge to it because now you have buses driving through where pedestrians are all in the middle of a festival. So a workaround is in process, and I talked to John Clausen about this Thursday or Friday last week, and the buses will turn around there at the barricade. Cloyce and Mike, I believe, is where it's planned, and then the car club is needing to make a, for the able-bodied person, that's not a problem to walk that couple blocks, but that person that's with a disability, that's mobility challenged, they're going to utilize golf carts to transport people over to the ferry dock. So just be mindful of that as you're planning your festivals. If you're going to close the streets, we have buses now operating on Sunday, downtown, that we haven't had for many, many years. So, which is a good thing that we've got Sunday service again, but it does impact some of the things we do, and we got to be conscious of that. On the project front, City Hall project, you'll see a crane showing up on Thursday that is going to remove the clock faces and then install the new clock faces, which then will allow that upper scaffolding to finally come down as they put the clock faces on and finish the siding up there. So that'll be good progress there. They're doing the siding on 2 of the sides of the building right now, and then they'll move around to the other 2 sides of the building after that. The roundabout down by Kentucky Fried Chicken, I heard on Friday that the state approved the contractor's paving plan, and plus or minus a few days on either end, it's about May 1st, and it's all about a weather window. It's got to be pretty much dry, and it's got to be warm enough that the asphalt doesn't cool too fast. So it could shift a few days or a week, but right around May 1st, there's a punch list of items that the contractor is responsible for. So you'll see some workers out there probably in the next couple of weeks working on those punch list items, and then a couple of days to pave it. Once they're done paving, they'll put temporary striping because it has to sit for 3 or 4 weeks before they can and cure, the asphalt cures before they actually put the permanent striping down. So we're close to being done there. Marina Pump Station is progressing well. We had a little challenge with something being not where it was supposed to be, and we solved that last week, and they'll start digging on that hole again this week. And the Bay Street, Bay Street's construction, until we can give Kitsap Bank we've got about a 9-month project. They've got an 18-month project, and they need to finish at the same time. And we've started our design, and late this year, or for sure by the end of the year, our design will be done, and I'll be able to give Kitsap Bank a date when we're gonna go to bid and go to construction on this project. So, our end dates need to, coincide so that their building isn't sticking up out of the ground 1.5 feet higher than the road and the sidewalks. So, we'll have better clarity on construction target dates, I would say about the end of this year. So that's what I've got for you.
Can I ask a question? Two
Certainly.
questions. Rob,
for it.
so the buses, are you saying that they won't go all the way down to the marina, the foot ferry entrance? They'll just go in around Bevco and turn around and come back out? Is that what you're saying?
Not even that far. I believe they're going to turn around because it needs to be worked out with each festival holder where you're blocking the street. And what I heard, and I'm not directly involved in it, what John shared with me, they thought they were going to turn the buses around at Cloyce and Mike's out on Bay Street because that's where they put the barricade on Sydney.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And then it's not ideal. They don't like backing buses up, but they didn't have a better alternative. And then the Saints were going to work with transit on those, when people have mobility issues to make sure that they can get them down to the ferry terminal.
Okay. And my second question really quick is, so you don't know what day you're going to power wash
It's this week.
this week, but you don't know which day? Okay.
Yeah, when the pressure washer gets down there.
Okay.
It's got to be this week because we rented a piece. It's called it's a big water tank. It has there's a term for it.
And
and
you'll put up street signs or whatever you do to say that there's power washing taking place that day.
Yeah, I certainly hope we will. My public works director is in a dentist at the dental office right now. So,
is that a good day for a building owner to do some of their own power washing? I guess that's where I'm going.
Not, I would hope not at the same time, be tripping over each other.
I might suggest even just thinking about doing it myself. You get out ahead of it and do it maybe today or the next day, because then what good is it when all the dirt coming off your building's now going to go onto the sidewalk and they've already cleaned that sidewalk?
Sure.
Yeah, just a second here. I got somebody just is calling me right now. I'm called the public works director. So let me ask the question. Good morning, Dennis. Pretty good. I'm on the ED Tourism Committee meeting, and which are we? Well, no, they were asked a question, and what day are we going to be doing the pressure washing? I assume it's not today. And are we going to put some signs out so people don't park? So we're not power washing cars. Okay, I know it's going to happen this week. So, okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that has to be approved yet, so we don't need to discuss that. Yep. All right. All right, thanks. Bye. He doesn't know the exact date. He said that would be a good idea, and he would email me the details as soon as he has them.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a lot of new people in public works right now, a lot of them, and not all of them know how we, should be doing things all the time. So I have a lot of coaching going on.
Can we, when we firm that up and get that email, can we get that over to POBSA so they can make sure
I'll
and
make
get
sure
it to
to
their
get
membership?
as soon as I get it.
Perfect. We just want to close that loop on communication for them. So perfect. Thank you for sharing all that. I think it's going to help us in aligning some of the things that may be low-hanging fruit for us here at the city and economic development to be able to put some prioritization around on things that we want this committee to work through, knowing the things that you're currently working on and where we can help with that as well. So be on the lookout as we try and set those priorities as a council and as a committee for your re-engagement in that. And like I said, my hope is that maybe we get out some surveys and some input from folks, because again, a lot of this is we're economic development, right? I want to make sure that we remind folks that while that includes retention, but we really want to grow that as well. So any feedback we can get there would be great. We also didn't talk about, I don't think, or at least I know I wasn't privy to that, and maybe Nick and Jim can fill me in on the intervals at which we're going to ask our stakeholders to come back as part of this committee. Had that already been discussed?
Well, historically, there's been an open invite to every meeting, and the stakeholder discussion is a standing item. So, but this is a new committee, new membership, so it's up to you to decide how you want to handle that. And maybe the stakeholders have a preference not to come every month. So I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, and I would be with Nick in wanting to know your input. I think I would like to leave that open invitation at all times that you are able to come and join us. But is there a time where you're always welcome and then you want to come quarterly, or would you prefer to come every month?
Well, we'd like to try to have somebody in every month, and you know, there was at least 2 other people I had hoped to join besides Sarah and I today. Our president's in Niagara Falls right now, so but
the eclipse hysteria.
So yeah, so we'd like to have a representative every month. It might be a different one, and it might be more than one if that's okay.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Sarah?
Yeah, I totally agree with Corrine. You know, I'd love to be a part of this as much as I can. So, yeah.
Perfect.
And just a note, Cody, our staff had a chance to meet with both Kita and POPSA to talk about their organization's priorities. And with you being new at the chamber, I don't believe we've been able to set up a meeting with you yet, but Sean will likely be reaching out to you so that we can maybe have a one-on-one as staff and just kind of talk about the work that we have going on and any priorities for the chamber. So look for a meeting invite from Sean sometime in the near future.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Perfect. And all that input will help guide these agendas moving forward. And like I said, create our scope of work that we hope to get through the next 2 years. With that, we'll move to item number 3, discussion on pre-application meetings. Is this Nick?
Yeah, I've got 4 projects I wanted to share with you, and either Sean or Jim, can you enable sharing of the screen so that I can pull these things up? The first project that I have is a small apartment project. I'm not going to necessarily bring every pre-application meeting that we have to this group for your information, but any projects that have a significant number of units or commercial new development, I will certainly flag for you. So the first project is across the street from St. Vincent de Paul on Bethel here. It also abuts Herald, and this is a looks like a 36 unit apartment complex. The initial concept that they submitted to us, it does not comply with our design standards, so they're working to reconfigure this, but this is roughly what they're thinking for the site. There are no major issues that I see other than complying with our design standards and zoning standards that would need to be met here, and apartments are allowed on this site. So that's one that is likely to go forward or may go forward, but we don't yet have a formal application for development. The next pre-application meeting I wanted to share with you, this is the Franciscan facility there off of Tremont. They are proposing to convert their existing building into a freestanding emergency room. And so they're looking at doing some tenant improvements, nothing external to the building. It's really reconfiguring their existing space. And so they had submitted for a pre-application meeting, but really this is purely a building code issue, not anything to do with site improvement. So you're not going to see any physical change to the exterior of the building, to my knowledge. Certainly not enlarging the footprint, but they are going to be expanding their offerings at that facility. The third project I wanted to share with you, this is a apartment complex proposed at the corner of Salmonberry and Ramsey Road. This is about the third different group that's come in looking to do a project here, and this is a very challenging site, both because of wetlands, also because these roads were not necessarily built in the middle of the right-of-way, and so there are right-of-way challenges, there are power lines in the way. There's a lot of things going on here, and so just an FYI, this is about I think it was just under 100 total units there, and you can see Bethel is off to the right of the screen, Ramsey's at the left, and Salmonberry is at the top of the screen here. So we've had a few people take a stab at trying to make a project work, and so far this is, I think, the third iteration, a third different group that has come in looking to try to purchase this site and make a project go forward. And then finally, this one is the really exciting project. I know that one of our council members asked me to send this to them last week. This is a proposed multi-care facility on Sedgwick. They were looking to buy essentially all of the property on the north side of Sedgwick between Geiger Road and all the way down to SR 16. And so a roundabout is proposed to access this whole Bravo Terrace area, and Sedgwick is proposed in this area to expand to 4 lanes to improve traffic congestion. And so Multicare was looking at coming in and developing Site D. Last I heard, they were still looking at feasibility of the project and haven't decided to move forward.
Hey,
They
Nick,
also
I talked to the property owner this morning, and this property, their purchase and sale is expired.
Okay.
So-
All right. Well, the main point I wanted to make here for our council members today was that one of the major challenges on this project was the acquisition of some right-of-way, and because they had to make frontage improvements, there's one property where we have a sliver of land that stretches. The main property is on the south side of Sedgwick, but there's a fragment on the north side that was actually blocking the private property owner's ability to make required frontage improvements. And so this is something where the city, as part of its future Sedgwick plans, was looking at possibly picking up this little triangle to ensure that development can go forward on this site in the future without having an ownership issue, because private developers, if they don't have a willing seller, don't have the ability to condemn or purchase property. The city does have an ability to do that. And so we were going to look into whether this seller was willing to sell and try to tie this up as part of our future right-of-way on Sedgwick to allow for that widening project to go forward. That would then provide access to this site. They also had looked at the feasibility of apartments on this upper area, but it sounds like that is not going forward at this point. But regardless, that was a site that had some challenges that really made it difficult to develop. And that is all I have on pre-application meetings. Like I said, we've had a few, 3 or 4 lot short plats, boundary line adjustment meetings, but nothing that rises to the level of discussion with the committee.
Can you show the Salmonberry Bethel apartments? Which corner is that? Is that the northwest corner?
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
And it's across Bethel.
So it's this property here at the southwest corner of Bethel and Salmonberry, but there's a creek here and a occasional flooding issue, and this is where we're going to put the roundabout. So they're looking at developing the back half of that property with about 100 apartments.
Oh, interesting. And so they would access it from Ramsey and not from Bethel.
Well, they would use Salmonberry and Ramsey to get to the site, but the driveway would be off Ramsey.
Okay. All right. Okay.
At,
I know.
At least in this iteration. I mean, it's been evaluated a number of different ways.
I just couldn't picture where it was at first. I was thinking, like, which corner is that? Okay. Thank you.
So I just got a word back. The pressure washing is going to happen where crews are gonna start early in the morning at like the crack of dawn and complete their work through, they'll be working a number of days, should be done by Wednesday, but they're doing it before anybody is opening for business. So by the time you open your businesses, they'll be done for the day and then come back and do another. And I did recommend, because there are some cars, because there's apartments down there, they get left at the curb and that we need to notice so that we're not pressure washing cars or having to clean cars afterwards.
So you mean like tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I got the impression maybe they were even working down there this morning. I haven't been down there this morning, but
Okay.
yeah, they rented that piece of equipment Friday, so we have it, and so they could have done some of it this week. No, excuse me, this morning. But I'm uncertain of that.
Okay.
But shouldn't have any impact on your business operations because
No, we just wanted to do some power washing
yourself.
along on the theater walls and that part of sidewalk. Well, I can ask this question later, so that's fine.
Yeah, I'd get down there quick. I don't know.
Well,
if
it's
they've
not
got
going to
your
happen
block
today
yet.
now, so.
Yeah.
And Mayor, I did have one other update, just concerning communication. Did you want me to share the latest plans on the plazas and community event center with the group?
Certainly.
So I think most of you have probably seen this drawing, but this is the current state of our redevelopment plans for the community event center, as well as the waterfront deck and plazas on Orchard Street and the parking lot off of Frederick. And so we now have 30% drawings, and I'll pull up this drawing because this really illustrates kind of the different phasing and ownership of our project. We are hopeful that everything in this yellow color, the blue color for the community event center, as well as Orchard Street Plaza and this red area here, that all of this will be bid as one project, although we don't have all of the funding secured to be able to do that. And so we still have to see enough development and park impact fee revenue come in over the next 2 or 3 years in order to have certainty about going forward with all of these at once in 2027. I think the paper misquoted me as saying that this was going to break ground maybe in 2025, and that was regrettable that the reporter misunderstood which projects were going forward when. We separately have a grant for improving Bay Street from Frederick around the corner in front of City Hall. And this project right now, as the mayor mentioned, is in design. And I believe we are aiming to bid that project in 2026. And that should be a relatively short disruption to traffic. I think they're talking about 90 to 180 days of construction on that one. Because it's a relatively small area, but as you know, in the Northwest, when you get into fall and winter and weather issues happen, it sometimes can cause a project to shut down and not be finished for a full construction season. So it's important that we try to get that out to bid in the spring so that they have the full summer working season to complete their project. So that project is going forward. That'll be new sidewalks, streetscape, pavement, as well as raising the road to match or to address the flooding issues that happen there. And then all of our buildings are, of course, being planned based on the future road elevation, not based on the current road elevation. And so the mayor mentioned we'll have those final elevations hopefully in the next several months that we can get WashDOT to sign off on our proposed grades, and that will allow the bank to go forward with their project and the community center to go forward into construction. I guess I can flip through these. These are engineering level drawings, but there's just some of the finishes that we're looking at in terms of pavers and concrete patterns that have been selected. We're also looking at we've done some selection on seat walls and kind of materials and kind of what the look and feel of this area will be. And we even have some kind of the planting mixes that we'll be looking at here that have been specified in our 30% plans, as well as our luminaries and lighting. And we have we met with the electrician recently, and we have power outlets all over this plaza for various events in the future, and we're trying to figure out exactly which receptacle we're going to specify. Some of these look to be an in pavement recessed receptacle that will have a slot for cords to come out of the ground, versus other freestanding receptacles that would be hidden in the landscaping that would be available for use. So we're making good progress on our plaza design, and we're supposed to be that'll be moving into the next design phase here in probably the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Will those be easily turned off, Nick? I know from my time in Bremerton that is definitely.
You broke up a bit there, but yes, the design for the electrical is being set up so that it will be a central control that turns everything on, everything off, and the lighting will be separate from the power outlets, is my understanding.
Excellent. And a follow-up question on that right of way back over on Cedric. We're still pursuing that right of way, even though that project may not move forward?
We have it in the budget, and so we were that was one of the things that was in the work plan this year, is to use our on-call consultant to go ahead and pick that up, because I think if and when somebody comes in wanting to do something, they're going to continue to run into that same problem until there is right of way in place that allows them to make required frontage improvements and access improvements to their site. I think we all know how backed up that can get at times, and so we are looking for the adjacent property owner to, depending on the impacts of the project, there are likely going to be at least some mitigation, and for a big project, a lot of mitigation in order to allow a project to go forward in that location. So
I'll add that the consultant's fee for that right-of-way agent was $30,000. And one of the discussion items at the retreat is whether we should hire our own right-of-way agent. So I'm kind of dragging my feet because it's not pressing to acquire that right now.
Yep.
And whether we're better off to have an employee and this be one of the first projects that they work on. But we need some direction from the city council on that, whether we just go ahead and have the consultant do this, or we want to add a staff member and start doing our own right-of-way acquisitions.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions for Nick and the projects he was giving us an update on? Okay. Just a couple of last roundtable things before I open it up to everybody else. One, the cruise boats are coming back to Bremerton. I believe there was some chatter. I was out of town the end part of last week. And there is some connection talking to Kitsap Transit, trying to be able to get them over here. So I just wanted to make sure that all of our leaders get that information out, as well as those dates are set for when they will be docking. So anything that we can do to create some activity and bring those tourists over and leave their dollars here in our city would be great. And then additionally, we got late last week just a copy of a letter from some surrounding businesses to City Hall around the impacts of some parking on our project. That we're working through that. I've let Mayor Rob know, and he's diligently working with those folks, but it was addressed to this committee, so committee know that we'll be bringing that back, and it'll be just a quick topic, hopefully next month, where Mayor Rob can share the communications that went back and forth there. So just know that that came. We just didn't have time to get that all situated for this meeting this month. I think that's it for my roundtable, and I will open it up for anybody else.
Just a quick question, John, on the cruise boats, because was the schedule you sent out before final, or is there another schedule?
That is a good question. I don't have the answer if that's the final schedule, because that seemed awfully late, as I believe the first one's supposed to arrive later this weekend.
This week, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they were able to sell a boat that quick, or just didn't give us those dates until that late, but I will circle back and find that out for you.
Well, one of our questions from Pub says we debated what we have the time and effort and money to do, was it didn't look like there were any overnight stays this year, but maybe, because that makes a difference whether they're going to come to Port Orchard.
Correct, correct. And I think what they were trying to do, and there were, I believe, a handful of overnights. They weren't
Okay.
a bunch, but I think there were
Okay.
just a few of the, was it 40 some sailings or something like that? But again, I think they're supposed to be arriving here at night, here for a day, and then leaving. That's how I understand it. I've been kind of at arm's length. I know the Downtown Bremerton Association that I had been affiliated with in the past has some information. I'll reach out and get the final information for you and send it over.
Thanks, John.
Hey, John, Cody, isn't the chamber involved
Yeah.
in getting some passes for them to ride the foot ferry over at Port Orchard for free?
Yes, so we are going to be providing those, making sure that they have the opportunity to take the foot ferry over and not have to worry about paying for it, and they'll just be able to get on and go.
That's good.
Fred?
I just had a couple questions. Thank you for the update on the letter from the New York Business. I was wondering, what is the best way for the public to address a committee? It seems like we're getting a lot of emails directly from individuals, but it seems like in this case, if they direct it to a committee, it's going to staff first, and then the chair, and then eventually, I guess, the committee. It's not quite as direct as if they sent it directly to each individual council member.
Yeah, I don't know that we have an email box for that. And so I'm sure they went online and found whether it was Jim or Nick's email address, and that's how it got there. It didn't even come to me direct either. So, but I will say staff was good enough to filter that up and get it to me. It just, the timing wise, it didn't work well with getting it on today's agenda.
But yeah, I can certainly tell them that it was received and it will be discussed at the next month's meeting.
So I guess what I'm trying to say, Fred, is I think that's a greater council discussion, and we need to decide what we do for one committee, we should do for all.
Yeah. So what is the issue? And then I'll
So we received an email from a concerned citizen about the city hall impacts on their business and their parking.
I've got that solved. So
yeah, so we discussed whether that needed to be added to the agenda or not, and the direction in talking to the chair and the mayor was that the mayor would handle this one, and it didn't need to come to the full committee for discussion, though we can certainly forward emails to the full committee. It just isn't necessarily going to end up on the agenda.
So it's first I'll address the issue, and then I'll address what historically communication is, how it's handled. So I met with the bank I reached out to the port. I don't know how viable it is to use the boat launch parking for the public. I know it's really not enforced except for the boating season. From a practical standpoint, the lot's largely empty, but I can't tell people that it's okay to park in the port's parking lot. Only the port could tell somebody that. I was down for a meeting anyway with the bank on Friday. And so I'm gonna have, Nick doesn't know this yet because I haven't connected with Nick yet, but we're gonna respond to that letter. And it won't work for public parking, but the bank is going, during the city hall remodel, the bank is gonna let that particular business owner, their employees, park in a row of stalls. I'm waiting for the map to come from the bank so that we can include it in the letter to show them which stalls they can use. And the challenge is, I don't know that the public would park there. We're going to try, and I think their building is, one of their challenges, their building is underparked, which many buildings are, and they're using their limited number of parking stalls for their employees. And so, we're going to give them an opportunity to utilize the bank's parking lot for their employees if they choose to use it. But I don't have a good solution for you know, we are impacting public parking. There's no doubt about it. We've got construction equipment and materials on and around the sidewalk and in the parking stalls around City Hall. So then when people come to visit City Hall to go to court or to make a payment, they're having to park in other places other than at the curb at City Hall. And it's a short-term problem. The siding will be on, you know, here in the next month. And, you know, as we get the exterior finishes done, it will be more down just in the parking lot. But anyway, I have a solution. As far as communication, I mean, you guys have on our website, on the agendas are what your committees are, who's the chair. And if it comes to staff or to you guys, we talk to the chair of that committee. Do you want this on the agenda, this meeting? You know, and that letter came in, John spoke to Nick and I, and we agreed that I would reach out to see if I could find a solution for the parking, and I did. And so every situation's different. A lot of times these things will end up in your guys' agenda, and sometimes they don't, because sometimes it's something that staff and I can work on and to resolve.
Well, thank you. It's just that I knew this letter was coming, and I was asked like if I'd gotten it. And I thought, well, no, did he even send it? And I didn't know if we had a technical difficulty where they sent it to City Hall. It's not being forwarded to the council committee. So I appreciate understanding that this case was handled a little differently.
Yeah.
My second issue was that I, as you may know, am running a vacation rental. It's actually the red building in my background. And in looking at this, I noticed that the city has a lot of vacation rentals, which I think is great. And so my question is, how much do we care if we happen to find out that some of the rentals are not licensed? For example, you can go on Airbnb and they will charge the 2% lodging tax, but that individual may not have gotten a license from the state, like I guess it's Department of Licensing. I was curious and I just looked up on some of them that I'd never heard of. I'd say about half of them that I noticed do have licenses and half of them don't. I understand that we do have, you know, some ordinance, you know, I wouldn't say punishing people, but encouraging people to get a license. And how active do you think we should be in encouraging that?
I can tell you that we don't have the capacity to, I mean, I think everything in our world, at least in local government, is complaint driven. And I think the complaint probably needs to be filed by, if you're concerned about it, Fred, I think it's Department of Revenue is who they're not paying taxes. Probably they're not licensing a business, in which we have a business license also. But I don't know what capacity we would have to be researching that. And you know, if you want to file a complaint, we can look into it.
That might be something that we talk about through this committee, right? We can work with Nick and speak with Nick. I know a neighboring municipality has now taken on the state for their business licensing. So when they register with the state, they can register at the city level as well.
We already do that.
Oh, do we? Okay, perfect. I don't take care of that here at our business, so I wasn't sure who actually does that.
Yeah,
It's 35. Our business license is $35, so we're not missing out on a lot, but the state has its fees and Department of Revenue. And it's really not this isn't a Nick issue.
Well, our code enforcement does enforce the business licensing chapter of our local code. And so if somebody doesn't have a city business license, that's who would write the first letter. But again, it is complaint driven. And so we catch a lot of business licensing issues when people are doing permitting, because we always verify that they have a business license, or if they're contracting with the city, we have to verify that they have a business license. But beyond that, if we open a code enforcement for some other issue, one of the things we will check is, do they have a business license? And we will tack that on to any other enforcement letter when we have somebody who's out of compliance. But it's really up to individuals to obtain licenses for themselves. And if they don't come to the city or don't, we don't go through an audit every business in the city. I think there's several thousand licenses registered currently.
So I guess the answer to the question is it's complaint driven.
Anything else, Fred? Brett, anything else?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for roundtable?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up something, and I know when I went to the last or the one before Pops Up meeting, we were talking about identifying, have an identification for downtown. And I don't know if I've ever, I don't know if I mentioned it at our last committee meeting, but I think that would be something to start looking into and have kind of a, more of an identification down there. And then when we're doing the community center, maybe some really cool, bigger artwork in history, as like how Nick was saying with, beautifying down with the plants and just the walkway, and, maybe have a designated spot for something, just something to be thinking about.
You're talking about branding.
Yeah, it would be great to have something that unifies just this little downtown. And I know we got the mosquito fleet, and then I kind of like, it seems like Pops is kind of going with an anchor a little bit, for ladies'
that's
night
right.
out. You got a big old anchor there, and I think that's pretty cool too.
And
So
yeah, I years and years and years and years ago, when I was at the chamber, we tried to get a branding effort going, and we got somewhere, but there was a lot of politics and it didn't pan out. But it'd be great Pops is interested in that. We actually talked about it in our letter to the city. But and as far as the anchor, and can I just really quick, John, we do have a brand new event that we're doing that we're kind of excited about. And we are trying to go with a little more of a nautical theme. And we're hoping to make that consistent across our events. So we're using the anchor for Ladies' Night Out, but we do have a new event called Mosquito Fleet Fest. And we're not trying to close down any streets or parking lots. Basically, because we lost Chris Craft Rendezvous to Paulsbo, and we used to do a small vendor fair for that. We're moving that vendor fair into the Mosquito Fleet Fest, which is Saturday, May 25th. And we have secured, we think we've secured enough money to do 2 story sales on the Carlisle. I've already, have the charter agreement with Kitsap Transit signed on that day, on Saturday, May 25th. And a few other odds and ends we're going to do that day. And thank you, Mayor, for bringing down the Virginia 5, which we talked about having it at the market. It's probably a little safer at Revival. In fact, we all think it should stay at Revival, where it'll really be seen by people, I mean, way beyond staying at the city hall. But this is still tentative, but we met by phone last week, and it looks pretty good. We're going to have the Virginia 5 here that day as well. So we're very excited. The last 2 Mosquito Fleet boats should be in part of this festival, which is only one day this year, but we intend to make it bigger. So yes, we are trying to go with more the marine nautical theme. And we're, like I said, we're very excited to have possibility of having both Virginia 5 and Carlisle available and running tours that day. So
yeah,
we just need good weather that day. So
I think it'd be challenging for us to lend the Virginia 5 out permanently, but I'm kind of bending the rules because we're under construction, and I figured it was safer in Revival's lobby than it was around construction activity. So
yeah, and probably safer there than it would have been in the market. But
yeah, and we were very concerned about the case is pretty fragile, and so, but I'm glad it's being seen, and it'll definitely be there through the summer. I can assure you
it's definitely causing a lot of interest so far, which is great.
Nice.
Good. Thank you, Corinne. Heidi, did you have anything else?
No, just kind of start thinking about stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I know we've had some conversations. I know I've had some, and
yeah,
the Mosquito Fleet, and learning that that was the original name of the Bay Street pathway, right? The Mosquito Fleet path. Was it pathway, traverse? There was
trail.
Thank you. So yeah, I think we'll continue to build some momentum around that. So excellent. Anybody else?
I was wondering if we could just get copied on the letter that Corinne said POBSA sent to Sean.
Yeah, I've got that as a list, as a takeaway. I've got a whole list I'll work through, Fred.
Okay, great.
That's one of them. Yep. Okay. All right, with that, it is 10:27. We will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you to staff for facilitating, and thank you to our stakeholders for being here. Hope to see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.